and agents alike. It's your boy Enlightened Luciferian Prince coming at y'all with another live feed. Uh, I'll let a couple people roll in before I proceed. But I know last night a lot of people, in regards to the video of the federal routing numbers, were trying to accumulate property, I think, more or less so items, I should say, off the commercial market, but not really utilizing it for its distinct and instructive purpose. First off, discharge your debts before you try to accumulate things, because if you don't discharge your debts, you're going to lose everything that you try to obtain. You know, come on, man. It's 2021, man. You know what I'm saying? Shit, you can't be no baller if you ain't got no dollar, man. Come on, man. Shit. Come on. You know what I'm saying? You gotta understand it's about discharging your debts, reducing the debt first, and then actually accumulating property later. That way you can keep everything that you obtain from that point forward. Chats is deactivated, but as I said before, I usually do that for specific purposes of not being distracted while I'm actually doing my live feed. So don't take offense. That's just the reason why I do it. I don't want to be distracted when I'm actually doing my live feed. This today is actually going to be that's going to be spoken about. The context is stolen legacy. Greek philosophy is stolen Egyptian philosophy. Now, we know, those of us that are avid readers, those of us that are people who actually study the context of what we should also construct as religion is concerned, has often been imposed and forced upon people in a certain manner, because these are concepts that were actually given to you by man. So a lot of people don't want to come to the cognizance of the fact that their belief system has been constructed by man. But at the same token, when it comes down to ancient Kemetic philosophy, that was not imposed by man. That was actually something that was given by divine wisdom. That wasn't constructed and written down into books. Now, the historical context, they'll tell you that the Library of Alexandria was burnt down. Yeah, the library might have been burnt down, but the books weren't. They burnt the library. So-called Alexander. I ain't gonna call him great. There wasn't shit great about him, but he was the actual entity through his advisors. His board of advisors was the individual who actually invaded the territory because of things that he heard from this country, from this particular place. He heard through correspondence. Then when he came and saw it in person himself, envied it so much that he had to actually destroy certain parts of it. But then we have what's called, in the philosophical school, what's called Transitivity of Identity. So he transferred the identity of ancient Chem from ancient Chem, called it Egypt, and then transferred it into Greece. And this is why we have this stolen legacy. Because remember, people, it was stolen. It was never rightfully gained. It was never accomplished. Never was a cultural accomplishment from the Grecians. Before I proceed, remember, in school, the first thing they teach you about is Greece. They always start there. If you watch certain series, like movies and so forth, on Netflix or whatever, they call it Gods of Egypt, right? Why is every individual in there non-melanated? Think about it. It's no Gods of Egypt. Of course, all these individuals were depicted as people that were melanated. So let's go ahead and dive into it. This is not my work. All rights reserved to the author. This is written by George G.M. James, PhD, University of Arkansas, Pine Bluff. And this is actually the first place that invented the automobile. Henry Ford didn't invent the automobile. Remember that. This work was originally published in New York by Philosophical Library in 1954. The content herein has been slightly edited to mark word corrections and is an organization to assist the readability. The author, George Granville Mona James, was born in Georgetown, Guyana, South America. Now, we already know what took place there with Jim Jones. If you don't know about Jim Jones, watch documentaries. Plenty of them. Trust me. Give me a second. Here we go. His parents were Reverend Lynch B. and Margaret E. James. George studied at Durham University in Britain and at the Imperial University of London. He earned his doctorate in Columbia University in New York. He then qualified to teach mathematics, Latin, and Greek. Later, he was professor of logic and Greek at Livingstone College in Salisbury, North Carolina for 2 years before teaching at the University of Arkansas. So this man traveled the world. Here we go. Before teaching at the University of Arkansas Pine Bluff, the author has also written the following pamphlets. Number 1, Health Week in Newcastle. Number 2, Intermarriage, published in London, England. Number 3, Black People Under Germany, published in New York. The Need of an Education of the Subject Peoples of the World, published in Arkansas, USA. Number 5, Probable Causes of Religious Apathy in Our Institutions of Higher Learning and the Proposal of a New Naturalism, published in Arkansas, USA. And second, he has also authored the following articles titled, The Church and a New Mentality, Religion is an Inductive Progressive Science. The Anti-Classical Wave, the First Step in Negro Reconstruction. Know Thyself, a series of 12 articles that were published in the New York Age and Zion Quarterly. The Influence of Mathematics Upon the Mentality and Character of Students, published in Georgia Herald. This dude was highly educated. So we about to go ahead and dive in. We about to dive in. Now, of course, I can't go over this in the entire tea of it all, but I will do the most I can to expound upon the actual meat of the situation. Give me a second, because you have a preface that I have to skip through, which you can actually download this PDF for free, but I suggest you get the quote unquote uncensored version. Or here we go. Let's go. Here we go. Let's go. Let's start on this. This is where we get to the meat of it. Hold on one second. My mouth got dry. Here we go. This difficulty continued throughout the early centuries and has come down to the present time. For it appears that all modern writers in the Greek philosophy are unable to agree on the dates and should be assigned to the nativity of philosophers. The only exception appears to occur with reference to what they esteem as the 3 philosophers, i.e. Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle. Now, anyone that has ever read the book called Secret Destiny of America knows that these individuals actually were initiated into what is called the mysteries. Okay. I know this may be a hard pill for a lot of people to swallow, but they came from their land that had no mysteries, came and were initiated, took the knowledge and attributed it to themselves. That's theft. Remember that. The only exception appears to occur with reference to the 3 identical philosophers, the date of whose nativity is believed to be certain and concerning, which there is general agreement amongst historians. Now, we already know that those people who are esteemed as historians are people who actually are given gifts and they're giving money, basically, by certain institutions to say a certain historical narrative. Keep that in mind. However, when we come to deal with the pre-Socratic philosophers, we are confronted with confusion and uncertainty, and a few examples will serve to illustrate the untrustworthy nature of the chronology of Greek philosophers. Here we go. Number 1, Diogenes Laertius places the birth of Thales at 640 BC, while William Turner's History of Philosophy places it at 620. That of Frank Thilly at 624. that of A.K. Rogers at early in the 6th century BC, and that of W.G. Tenement at 600. Whoa. What the fuck? We got a problem here. Houston, we have a problem. Wait a minute. These are conflicting viewpoints, but these are also published in books to institute into your mind that this is the way that it's supposed to be. Let's get to it. Diogenes Laertius places the birth of Anaximenes at 546 BC, while W. Wendelbrand places it at the 6th century BC, that of Frank Thilly with an H at 588 BC, that of B.D. Alexander at 560, while that of A.K. Rogers is at the 6th century BC. Wow. Parmenides is credited by Diogenes as being born at 500 BC, while Fuller, Thilly, and Rogers omit a date of birth because they say that it's unknown. Let's go further. Zeller places the birth of Xenophanes at 576 BC, while Diogenes gives 570 BC, and the majority of the other historians declare, this is a declaration. A declaration is not a fact, it's just what you declare. Think about that. Okay, A.K. Rogers and W.G. Tenement declare it's unknown. Number 6, with references to Heraclitus, Zeller makes the following suppositions. If he died in 475 BC and he was 60 years old when he died, then he must have been born in 535 BC. Similarly, Diogenes supposed that he flourished between BC 504 500. And while William Turner places his birth at 530, Wendelbrand places it at 536, and Fuller and Tenement declare he flourished in 500 BC. Number 7, with reference to Pythagoras, who actually imitated the scribe thought that came from ancient Chem, who was also known as Mercury, God of War. People will know this, they're avid readers. In the years 580, 570 BC, while Diogenes also supposes that it occurred between the years of 582 and 500 BC. William Turner, Fuller, Rogers, and Tenement declared that it is unknown. Let's dive further. Notice that this is a European and a Eurocentric ideology. This is a Eurocentric ideology, period. This is what they wanted the world to know about these individual entities. But they are incorrect when it comes to it because there is a variance between the actual imposition in society. They wanted to impose it upon you because they wanted to impose it upon you based upon a supremacy complex. And I'm not saying in a sense that they're superior. I'm saying based upon a concept that they knew that if I could construct this in such a way to manipulate your mind, I have power. Remember that. That's what supremacy is. Manipulation. It's not supremacy. It's manipulation. Let's go further. Number 8. With reference to Empedocles, while Diogenes placed his birth at 484 BC, Turner, Wendelbrand, Fuller, B.D. Alexander, and Tenement, all of them, place it at 490 BC, while A.K. Rogers and others declare it as unknown. Wow. So they came into agreement. Let's go further. Number 9. With reference to Anaxagoras, while Zeller and Diogenes placed his birth at 500 BC, William Turner, A.G. Fuller, Frank Thilly with an H, agree with them, while Alexander places it at 450 BC, and A.K. Rogers and others declare it as unknown. Number 10, with reference to Leucippus, all historians seem to be of the opinion that it has never existed. 11, Socrates, this piece of shit, 469 to 339 BC, Plato, this is another piece of shit, 427 to 347, and Aristotle, another piece of shit, 384 to 322, are only 3 philosophers of the dates whose nativity and death do not seem to have led to speculation amongst historians. But the reason for this uniformity is probably a clue to the fact that they were Athenians, and has been indicated that the Athenian government, who would naturally have investigated them and kept a record of their cases. This is a book. Check this out. Get your pen and paper. A.K. Rogers' History of Philosophy, page 104. Grab it and put it in your library. It must be noted from the preceding comparative study of the chronology of Greek philosophers that A, the variation of dates and points to speculation. B, the pre-Socratic period. Philosophers were unknown because they were foreigners to the Athenian government and probably never existed. Notice that. I'll say that one more time. The pre-Socratic philosophers were unknown because they were foreigners to the Athenian government and probably never existed. C, it follows that the pre-Socratic philosophers, together with Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle, were persecuted by the Athenian government for introducing foreign doctrines to the Athenians. D, in consequence of these facts, any subject claimed by the Greeks to the ownership of authorship of the same doctrines which they had rejected and persecuted must be regarded as usurpation. Before I proceed in regards to certain things, you have to understand that these people stole shit. It's what they've done. They've stolen it. Period. Don't care what no one says. When you turn around and you look at, like I said, the indoctrination of religion, when it comes down to certain facts of religion, a lot of people don't like it. They don't like it. They want to sell you a doctrine in your personal life to make you think that there's a man in the sky that's just sitting there waiting for you to appease it in any way. Why does it have to be a man? That's what they say. But at the same token, this is what they do. They do this because it's mind manipulation. That's what it is. They did it because they knew for a fact they can control people's ideology based upon the concept of something that was stolen. But then you go to the Roman Catholic Church. All right? If those of you who are Roman Catholic, you might not like what I get ready to say, but who cares? But then you got to confess your sins to another man. Who the fuck said you were sinning? He was born into this world to live. He was born into this world to live. But who's on the other side of that goddamn confessional booth? A motherfucker worse than you. A sick ass motherfucker worse than you. Let's go forward. The compilation of history, Greek philosophy, was the plan of Aristotle executed by his school. When Aristotle decided to compile a history of Greek philosophy, he must have made known wishes to his pupils Theophrastus and Eudemus. For no sooner did he produce his metaphysics than Theophrastus, followed by him publishing 18 books of doctrines of the physicists. Similarly, after Theophrastus had published his doctrines of the physicists, Eudemus produced separate histories of arithmetic, geometry, astronomy, and also theology. Where did these histories come from? They came from ancient canon. So realize that the shit that you people, some of y'all who are actually in college, are actually paying for is not legitimized motherfucking history. This is Grecianized history. You're paying thousands of dollars to be lied to. Straight up. You might not like that fact that I just said, but it's the truth. Trust me. I did it before, years ago. Knew that these people weren't telling the truth. This is what it is. Let's go further. This was an amazing start because of the large number of scientific books and the wide range of subjects treated. This situation has rightly aroused suspicions of the world as it questions the source of these scientific works. Notice what I just said. You just learned a very significant truth in less than 20 minutes. Let me not keep y'all too much longer. Let me go through this. Since Theophrastus and Eudemus were students under Aristotle at the same time, and since the conquest of Egypt by Alexander the Great, oh, here we go, made the Egyptian library at Alexandria available to the Greeks for research, then it must be expected that these three men, Aristotle, who was close friends to Alexander, Theophrastus, and Eudemus, not only did research that the Alexandrian library. Notice the terminology. First off, it was never called Alexandrian until it actually was, quote unquote, conquered, and it wasn't conquered in the way that we call conquering in the Netflix series Conqueror, but it was actually usurped from these people, finessed underneath them. It wasn't conquered. So you can't call it the Library of Alexandria until this individual actually convinced these people that he was one of them. That was their fuck up, being too fucking nice. Let's go further. Theophrastus and Eudemus not only did research the Alexandrian library at the same time, but must also have helped themselves to books, which enabled them to follow each other so closely in the production of scientific works. Here's a work you can write down. William Turner's History of Philosophy, page 158 to 159, which were either a portion of the war booty taken against the library or compilations from them. Note, Aristotle's work revealed the signs of note-taking and that Theophrastus and Eudemus were pupils attending Aristotle's school at the same time. William Turner's History of Philosophy, page 127. Just here, it might as well be to mention the name of Aristotle's pupils who took an active part in promoting the movement towards the compilation of a history of Greek philosophy. Theophrastus of Lesbos, that's where you get the name lesbian from, because there's the Isle of Lesbos. That's where all the lesbians were actually banished to when they actually started practicing licking the same thing. We ain't gonna go there. 371 to 286 BC, who succeeded Aristotle as head of the Peripatetic school. As elsewhere mentioned, he is said to have produced 18 books of doctrines of physicists. Who were these physicists? Greeks or Egyptians? Think about it. Now, if you look at one practice that we have in these states that we call United States, you have what is considered? You have what is called what? The Mortuary School. Okay, which is basically based upon the word of the ancient Kemetic sense of mummification. So the actual sense of embalming corpse to preserve it is something that was actually discovered thousands of years before Greeks ever came into the land of those of black skin. Let's go further. Just think of it. Eudemus of Rhodes, a contemporary of Theophrastus, with whom he attended Aristotle's school, he is said to have produced histories of arithmetic, geometry, astronomy, and theology. Where did these sciences come from? Because these are all sciences. These are not subjects. That's what they tell you in school. These are subjects. They tell you that. These are subjects. And at the same token, we have to take that into consideration. These are subjects. You know? Andronicus of Rhodes, an eclectic of Aristotle's school and editor of his works, BC 70. These men's works together, that's what it says, with Aristotle's metaphysics, which contain a critical summary of these doctrines of all preceding philosophers, seem to form the nucleus of a compilation of what has been called the history of Greek philosophy. Here's another work, Zeller's History of Greek Philosophy, Introduction, page 7 through 14. The next movement was the organization of an association called the Learned Study of Aristotle's Writings, whose members were Theophrastus and Andronicus, these same motherfuckers, all in cahoots with each other, who were both closely connected with the school of Aristotle. The function of the association was to identify the literature and doctrines of philosophy with their so-called respective authors, and in order to accomplish this, the alumni, not Illuminati, the alumni of Aristotle's school and his friends were encouraged to enter upon research for Aristotle's works and also to write commentaries upon them. Last note, in addition to this, the Learned Association also encouraged research for the recovery of what has been named fragments or remnants of a book, which is supposed to have once existed and have been born the common title Peripateos, i.e. concerning nature. And you just learned a very significant truth in less than 30 minutes. Why do I say this? Because I don't care what this so-called United States establishment says. The education system is flawed because it has been Grecianized. Grecianized. They love the culture so much of ancient Chem that they even adopted the colors of ancient Chem. Red, white, and blue was never an American thing. Let's get that straight. So people who actually sit here and adopt the red, white, and blue, have to understand that these were actually drawn on the pillars of ancient Kemet. People who adopt the eagle, remember that that was the sign of Horus rising in the morning. That came from ancient Kemet. What you write on, called paper, was actually considered papyrus. That came from ancient Kemet. What you call Jesus in the religious doctrine came from Horus. It came from ancient Kemet. We can trace it back through centuries. Trace it back. This is the proven fact. Proven. Time over time, age over age, eons over eons, and ages over ages. These motherfuckers have actually contributed themselves to being the greatness of the world when it all came from a culture that they didn't want you to know about. Look at the back of the dollar bill. When's the last time you seen a pyramid anywhere in the United States? No place. You down. When's the last place you ever seen their Grecianized version of Horus? I thought so. Think about it. Then you got a lot of people, brothers and sisters, who want to delve into a Grecianized version of education, which some of y'all who are viewing, they actually indoctrinated some of y'all into believing in the Grecianized version of Freemasonry. Freemasonry came from the pharaohs. The pharaohs weren't white. So that Charlton Heston movie, kick that shit out of your DVD collection. That was bullshit. Wasn't no white pharaohs in Egypt. Ancient Kem, Alkebulan, if you wish to say. Wasn't none. Not at all. But because you have been so brainwashed by these individuals who I just read centuries ago, these are centuries ago, who have manipulated your history, they have altered your reality into making you believe that they are somehow superior. You can't be a theft and be superior. You stole some shit. I earned it. You stole it. You stole some shit. They don't have a problem with telling the world they're thieves, because the truth is that these individuals are naturally thieves. And this has been going on for centuries, not just in 2020. This has been going on for centuries. Proven fact. See, the one thing that I appreciate about me being who I am is that the shape of my eyes proves that I descend and ascend from the people of the sands. Proven. They wish to imitate this. See, I'm Afro-Asiatic, so I already know who I am. So I'm not worried about nobody telling me in the history book what I am or who I am. I don't have to call myself anything other than I am. But these people have manipulated your history, and they will teach your kids in these books that are actually controlled by, quote unquote, certain publishing companies who actually receive endowments from these quote unquote people who want to lead the establishment. There's no such thing as an establishment. It's just going to crumble. It's just going to crumble really quickly because it's based upon a bullshit lie. So the reason why I did this video today was to explain to y'all people that are out there in the internet world on why you have such a variance in your education. This is the only culture I know we lived in that attributes so much excellence to where we come from, but at the same token, want to place you categorically into a system. What's the word? System of self-hatred. Don't love yourself. Teach you all the things that are inverted. Never things that are converted, inverted. Come on, man. You don't wake up today, your generations in the future are going to be in trouble. And they're going to be in dire trouble because they're going to hate themselves for the fact that you didn't teach them who they were. And then that's when you catch your pearls before swine. First time viewing this video, like and subscribe. Hit that notification button. Stand by for the next upload today. Oh, because yeah, it's coming. The fire rages within me. The fire. The passion and the light of truth rages within me. And I don't give a fuck. If people don't like it, who cares? Who cares? The truth often offends people. Often does. It is what it is. If you don't like it, fuck you. Period. But let us proceed. Let's go forward to the realm of light. Until then, like and subscribe. Agents, fuck you. Don't contact me. I don't oblige. I do not consent. Y'all take care. I'll be back. Peace.